scared that I'm sharing what you're saying. It's going to be based on everyone's permission, and you can contact me privately, in either in the chat or by email if you would prefer. Say, hey, look, I don't want what I've said published to everybody, but I'll go through that all at the end. So we're starting with an acknowledgement of country. I'm acknowledging that we are all meeting, teaching, living on Wiradjuri land, and it's obviously been Wiradjuri land for thousands of years. And like to pay respect to Wiradjuri culture, which is still managing the land today, and be respectful to any Aboriginal people in this meeting, and for leaders past, present and emerging. And I would like to think that through our work we can help support Wiradjuri culture to continue to manage this beautiful place. Could I ask that we're tolerant with technology? I'm sure we all are, but we're going to have to do it again in this meeting. And I would just reiterate that the purpose of this is to coordinate, share and cooperate. So I think the beauty of this meeting is that it's a two-way street. It's not just for us to say what's on offer to teachers, it's to listen to what teachers want to do. So as I said, teachers are time poor, so I'm hoping to keep the presentations relatively snappy today. So I think I might have said 15 minutes in the agenda I sent out. I probably would ask for anyone talking today, so Katrien, Elizabeth, Cindy, Danyelle and Nicole, to, if you can, keep it to 10, and then that should leave us a little bit of time at the end to have a bit of discussion. So before we crack on with that agenda, does anyone want to raise anything before we kick off? Okay, I'm going to take that as we're all good. So first cab off the rank is actually my fantastic wife here, Katrien Pickles. And it's not nepotism, so that's based on, at our last meeting, we had an interest shown in nature play, and I'll let Katrien take it from here.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
If our dog whinges, I'm very sorry. He's extremely annoying and he makes a lot of noises. So Ben was just describing that you were interested in hearing about nature play, and I thought I could adapt some of what I was researching for my PhD, which was about why do we provide playgrounds and are playgrounds doing what we want them to be doing, just I guess to specifically talk about nature play. So playgrounds and nature play I think are one and the same, but playgrounds I think as we think about them now are very much your kind of manufactured, very specific play type of equipment. So some of this might not be relevant, but if it is, like, maybe just let me know. Is there question time after?
Yeah, we'll probably do question time quickly after Katrien talks and after each presenter talks, and then we'll have a bit at the end as well.
Okay, so my research was talking a lot about our beliefs and how they inform our behavior. So our beliefs about children and their development and childhood in general in Australian society, and how that then impacts on how we provide for children and their development. So I think it's important to always check back in ourselves and think about what is it that you know, in terms of nature play, what is it that what are your beliefs about nature play, and then how is that impacting on your potential behavior or provision for nature play, but also I guess trying to understand what are children's beliefs about nature play, and then how that impacts on how they're trying to access or to get the kind of nature play that they're wanting. And sometimes adult and children's beliefs align, and sometimes they differ, and it doesn't mean that they're good or bad. It just means that sometimes what we're trying to do is different to what children are trying to do. So I think it's always a bit of a good self-reflection on trying to understand, often when we're trying to do things for children, or when we think that this is a way that children should play, what ends up happening is that we're imposing a lot of our belief systems on their internal play drive. So children will always want to play and will seek play opportunities, and sometimes they're destructive and sometimes they're constructive, but always to meet a need that the child is having. So yeah, so in terms of something happened.
Keep going.
Okay. In terms of nature play and how, I guess, whatever research I've done might relate to your practice, your professional practice, the most important thing I was emphasizing in the research is the importance for children and adults to be able to manipulate and adapt their environments. So one of the great things about nature play is it allows for manipulation and adaptation, but that doesn't mean that nature play is the only type of play that allows for manipulation or adaptation. I think everyone in this group would know, like, children will manipulate and adapt any kind of space that they have and any kind of equipment that's available, and especially in a classroom setting, children will try to manipulate and adapt that space, you know, however they can. So for example, just outside of our window here, kids have been building bike jumps for the past couple of weeks, and that's just their own initiative in bringing shovels and like just random pieces of equipment to adapt their environment. And the important thing about that is it gives children a sense of place. So without feeling connected to the environment, children don't associate nature with their self-identity. So if children are allowed to play and manipulate an environment, whether that's an indoor environment or an outdoor environment, it means that they're building a sense of place in that environment. So it's giving them memories to build their belief systems on, to build behavior. Right now. And so yes, just being able to build a sense of place means that children are manipulating and adapting the environment, which allows them to increase their sense of self. And that sense of self is what kind of builds the cycle of connection to the place. So once children feel connected to a place, they feel a sense of self-worth and self-value, and that increases their sense of self-worth and self-value in that place. So manipulation and adaptation are really important, and nature play, I think a lot of positive things have been written about nature play because it is a space in children's environments that allows them to build bike jumps, to run in the puddles, to, you know, pull a branch off of a tree. Like natural environments do invite children to adapt it, whereas oftentimes built environments are kind of telling children, don't do that, that's not okay, don't behave in this way. So I think I'm getting to my main conclusion. So children are constantly seeking ways to be in relation to their environment, and nature play really does provide an avenue for children to be in relationship with their environment. But you cannot be in relationship with your environment if the environment is always the same, and you need to build a relationship between people, between the environment. You need to be able to adapt it and manipulate it, or feel welcome in some way to adapt it or manipulate it and see what happens. And yes, and that's, you know, we talk about nature play, and that's often like quite a westernized perspective on children's behavior, but relationships with the natural world have different belief systems depending on which kind of society or culture you're looking from. So I think just in regards, like in a generalistic perspective, Aboriginal culture talks about we are not different from country. We are country, and country is us. And I think that's what nature play, a lot of what's being written about nature play is trying to get us to that space where we're not different from the environment, we are one with the environment. And the only way we can build relationship to environment is by adapting it and manipulating it, and just getting into that cycle of sense of place and self-worth, and self-worth building on the sense of place. So yes. I guess my final point would be in regards to children who've been through the recent bushfires. That's kind of a different angle of nature play. So children who have experienced a trauma that relates to natural environments, if they haven't had an existing connection to that natural environment, maybe if they hadn't spent a lot of time outdoors prior to the bushfires, or if they just moved there, those children will have a much more difficult time moving through their trauma cycle into a resilient cycle, because they don't have an established sense of place. So a sense of place is really important, not just for natural development and play, but also in terms of building your ability to get through a traumatic event and to find meaning and to process that in a way that you don't just feel stuck in a cycle of trauma, but you can find your own sense of resilience. So I think in regards to sort of post-traumatic stress or post-bushfire recovery, I think a lot of work needs to be done around just rebuilding a sense of place and finding positive connotations and belief systems in the environment, because it is very scary and traumatic, but it can also be, you know, linked to renewal and growth and change. So yes, I think those are my main points.
So yeah, would anyone, thank you very much, Katrien. We've got a minute or so to, if you've got any questions, just quick questions, and if you've got any more in-depth questions, maybe if you can send it through on the chat. But I think you've flummoxed. Everyone's trying to take it all in.
Could be pretty exciting though, coping with a fire as a kid. And then the whole play area has changed. It's a whole new thing to explore as well. But anyway.
Yeah, I think in many ways, yeah, I think kids are a lot more adaptable than we give them credit for. So they see a lot of opportunity where adults might see none.
Yeah.
I think your point that you made, Katrien, about having a connection out there is really important. And whilst we wouldn't say to a child, go out and work out this really difficult, complex multiplication algorithm, how would you get there without a strategy? So kids these days, they don't have that connection often, and that's a generalisation because it hasn't been modelled to them. If we think back, we might have been told, go outside and play, and you could do that. But kids, if they haven't got the connection, go outside and wonder what to do, what they're supposed to do. So sometimes I think it's just a little bit of modelling that needs to happen.
Yeah, and I think schools, it's tricky in a school environment. I mean, your recesses are getting cut shorter and shorter, so and excursions outside of the school playground environment are very hard, especially primary school.
And they're non-existent at the moment.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was, I think I learnt some things, even though I've been learning by osmosis for the last few years as well. I think, yeah, look, I'm at the risk of being disrespectful to that, we probably have to crack on to the next person, just in terms of the time. So thanks, Katrien.
Ben.
Yes,
Excuse
Cindy.
me, Ben, I just noticed there's a
a question on the chat.
Yeah, okay. Nice one, Cindy, thanks. So what I might do is we'll respond to that using text, but I'll just invite Elizabeth. Elizabeth, would you be okay to do your presentation? And Katrien might type away a response to that while you're talking, Elizabeth, if that's okay.
Yeah, no worries. Sorry to be late, just again, battling. This is my third Zoom meeting in my life. Hi everyone. Sorry I didn't officially say hello earlier. So I'm at Kurrajong Recycling as a community education person. So like all of you, it's pretty interesting doing it when you can't actually talk to anybody, but or gather or have tours. But here, I just wanted to look at what we offer here in terms of education, especially for a huge cross-section of the community it's applicable to, and especially for schools that I think it ties in with the play as well. This exposes not just students and school kids or preschoolers right up to university students. We also get a lot of elderly people or older people who are in the different community groups here, like Rotary and University Third Age and that sort of thing coming along. But it's basically, it's so hands-on and it's like a big factory. You're so stimulated by the noise, the smell, and what you see, the different types of people. And it's right here in the middle of town. And it's to do with all the resources, all the resources like that
No,
you
I
are
haven't
putting
seen
your
him.
in. This is actually
And I
so
don't
connected to
think I can see his phone.
that come along for a tour.
Yeah, no,
So yeah, and especially kids, so many kids, like you're saying, that don't have experience outdoors, let alone in a sort of industrial site like this, and to see people doing physical work too, as opposed to maybe in the backyard or in an office. So it's, and lots of big machinery as well. So it's quite stimulating and different for kids. And I suppose because I was brought up on a farm, I've been exposed to all this outdoor stuff my whole life, and to see little kids and adults too, I suppose, respond to this, and it really gets their attention. So I think we've got a really useful resource here, and just getting people on site is really valuable. So we've got that first thing of the actual seeing what physically happens to the items that they're recycling, whether they're doing it the right or the wrong way. They'll see the impact on our site and our workers, and the value of the product at the end. And then there's also the opportunity for training, so to learn more about it. So you get to have a good look around, and then you can actually have got an opportunity to talk about things and yeah, answer questions and learn more. And that's targeted at the different levels of the people that come and their interests, of course. We tend to be getting mostly preschool and primary school and the older groups. We're missing out on the high school groups. So that's that was my big aim this year, was to get stuck into high school if possible. That's been thwarted. And then again, there's so many aspects to this too. So we can, I mean, high school students can look at it in terms of, well, any of their studies, whether it goes from their looking at anything to do with engineering or the environment or society, because we're a social enterprise here with a mix of people with disabilities and people that don't have disabilities that are working here in an community organisation that's, you know, started years ago by the Wagga and surrounding communities and still run that way. So there's any number of aspects that, you know, ways in that students could examine or use this resource to do case studies or do their studies. They're different units that they're studying. So yeah, I've just been working, we've got just hoping to get the website up soon. And there's a number of brochures to explain what's going on, and yeah, and lots of we've got plenty of examples of what you can and can't recycle.
You've muted yourself, Elizabeth.
Is that better? Well, now I did that. Yeah, so if there's any questions, give us a little. You can either ask now or yes, looks like just Cindy.
Just Elizabeth, I'm sorry, I'm new to this, so it might be a question other people know. So the kids coming, do they come with like a school tour group, like on a little excursion?
Yes, so there's sort of a minimum number. So we go with probably groups of 15. So it can be anyone. It doesn't necessarily have to be a school group, but yes.
Okay.
School groups can be, 15 to 30, but then depending on the group, there's a requirement, the amount of teachers and adults that need to come per child, because it is, quite a busy workplace. So we have to have a fair bit of, OH&S going on.
And do you do that in response to a request from the schools?
Yes, so we usually get a phone call, we have a discussion, we've got a brochure that we send out and all those sorts of things. There's requirements on the type of footwear and not touching things, and if anyone misbehaves, they don't go on site. Yeah. So all those resources are put together.
Elizabeth, my name's Kate, and I just wanted to say that I'm very blessed to have actually taken kids on an excursion to your recycling plant about, I think it was actually in 2017. We took about 30 students over there with myself and an aide or two, and it was absolutely brilliant. It's very eye-opening for students. I took a year 3, 4, or maybe just straight year 3 class at the time, so they were only 8 or 9 years old, and they were genuinely shocked and impressed and genuinely interested in the whole production line. So we did a full site tour there, and we looked at how, computers were broken down and put into parts, and we walked through there. We were particularly doing it because we were looking at war on waste and waste reduction in general and in our school. So I wanted to make the learning real for the kids and give them a real, so they could actually see what the problems were and where things were going, and that you don't just put your rubbish into a recycling bin and it disappears and it's not our problem. So just for all of the teachers on site there, if this is something you're thinking about, this is definitely a great place to get kids' heads thinking and talking and really putting in their face some of the issues that we've got. And I know when we started our research, this was ErinEarth and Kurrajong Recyclers. We actually did the excursion on one day, went to Kurrajong in the morning, and then we popped into ErinEarth and had our lunch, and then sorted our food scraps and stuff into the right bins at ErinEarth, and then back to school. So that took probably about a half a day, and then it was economical for buses and all that sort of stuff. But I can't recommend it highly enough if you're in the field in your school of trying to reduce waste or encouraging kids to do so.
Well, thanks. So I'll finish up there unless there's any other questions, or if I didn't cover something I've meant to.
Can I come? It sounds interesting.
Well done. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks, Elizabeth.
Oh,
Another quick thing too, I didn't mention with high schools, and I know we don't have high school people here, but there is an opportunity for people to come and get trained in how to actually work on the belts and have an experience of it. So I thought that's something that high school students might find interesting at some point.
Elizabeth, I'd just like to comment on that. That sounds particularly interesting for my setting. So I teach at the Bidgee School, and we're primary, or pretty much year 1 to year 12. Okay. And we recently did a waste audit last term with Alice, and I mean, because of this whole lockdown thing, we've kind of, the momentum in that war on waste has kind of been interrupted a little bit. But once we're able to, I would love to bring my students. And there's quite a little core of our students that are really motivated by vocational education type stuff. So that would be particularly relevant for some of my students.
Yes, just we'll get in contact when we can then. That's great. Just give me.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
So that's attached to Wagga High? That's where you are?
Yeah, we're next to Wagga High. We're not part of Wagga High, but
right, yes. Good, thanks.
Elizabeth, I think that sounds really interesting, and I want to go to Kurrajong Waratah now and be inspired by all the big machines. I just want to quickly tell you about my experience as a high school teacher. I might have told you this already before, so I'll make it really quick, is that as a high school teacher, I would be interested in coming to Kurrajong Waratah. I think one of the challenging things for all teachers, but from my perspective as a high school teacher, is that if we've got 120 kids on our roll, it's really hard to think of or plan like a term ahead or a semester ahead. You're sort of dealing with like week by week or day to day. So I think it might help if you send out an information pack maybe at the start of the year, but then do it again. Because you just might pick up, like, don't be afraid to just send all the same stuff to the same schools again. Maybe once halfway through term 1, once halfway through term 2. I don't think it's overburdening. I think from a high school's perspective, that will look like you're really keen to get students. And you might just get that teacher at the right time. But, oh, I'm planning my war on waste now, and I've just happened to get this pamphlet at the same time.
Yep.
Whereas if you just send it out once a year, at the start of the year, everyone's heads are a mess from the holidays, and you're coming back. It's easy for your really good site to go unnoticed.
Elizabeth, well, I'm at a public school as well. It's a little bit different where we don't actually have a student enrolment. So at the Environmental Education Centre out on the Olympic Highway. So we have groups in, So we have groups from kindergarten to year 12, and our website is a mess. Don't go on there, it's horrid. But we're in the process in this sort of lockdown time of trying to sort some things out there. I'm happy to ask if we can put, you know, a bit of a blurb on our website to promote, because we're all on the same page as well, so that it's also getting out there.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
No worries.
Thank you. It's pretty amazing all the different opportunities here, isn't there? Don't you think, for kids? Like through ErinEarth.
Yeah,
it's
a very big group.
And out there on the highway, I mean, the environmental centre out there. There's so much, really.
Yeah, I agree with you, Elizabeth. I kind of see us as like a web of, I don't know, of people, and we have connections to everyone rather than just being on our own little islands. So, yeah, I totally agree. So I think in that case, if you've got any more questions for Elizabeth, if you could send her a question on the chat. Cindy, are you there? Or is Cindy?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I had to duck out for that urgent phone call.
No worries. Cindy, would you like to be next cab off the rank?
Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for, thank you to Ben for the invitation to come. I'm Cindy from St Vincent de Paul, and my role is school and youth engagement. And I'm here for two reasons. One is to sort of just, I suppose, promote the idea of Vinnie's as a recycler, because often we're known more as the charity, but yeah, so as a recycler. And secondly, Vinnie's is putting in for a grant with Wagga City Council for the natural environment, and I wanted to run that idea past you to get your input into that. Just get your gut feel as to whether you think that would be a good idea. So Vinnie's in Wagga has two types of recycling sites. You would know probably one better than the other. One is the shops, so the retail centres, particularly the one at Peter Street, which turns over a lot of tons, I suppose it is tons of clothing and household goods, diverting it from landfill. And the second site is the return and earn depot. So are people familiar with that on Hammond Avenue?
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, yeah. So instead of going to Woolworths and doing the one at a time and getting RSI feeding your bottles into the machine, you can actually go out to 90 Hammond Avenue, and we've got a bulk handling depot there. So I just wanted to show you a 3-minute introduction video of that. So let's just see if I can share my screen with you and pull that up. Hang on a sec. Just got to get this happening? There we go.
The basic premise of Vinnie's is simply for you and I to get together with some colleagues and help our fellow man. Literally help those less fortunate than ourselves in our local areas. We opened our first store in Newtown in 1922, and the first product that we started recycling was horse manure.
Vinnie's has always been a recycler. That's what we've done ever since we started, so it was a natural fit to go in with the return and earn scheme and partner with them and do an extra bit to help with the recycling scheme.
In Wollongong, we put our hand up and said we'd love to be a part of this because it seemed a natural extension to what we do. It's a recycling enterprise, and Vinnie's by its nature recycles.
But then we very quickly learned that we can create greater opportunity ourselves if we sort of grab the bull by the horns and start to build out.
The opportunity came to be providing a bulk handling site, and again we jumped at it because by doing those things we create an income stream for Vinnie's to undertake the work that is central to what we're about.
The site here for Vinnie's is an automatic depot, so it's designed to actually create an environment for people to process large volumes of containers in a quick and convenient way.
The success of this operation and being involved with Return and Earn has actually helped us understand the significant new revenue stream. Funds from our recycling actually underwrite the community and underwrite the benefits that we can provide to people, helping them off the streets, helping them with the meals, helping them with their health services and everything associated with that. So it goes directly into our communities.
Partnering with schools, partnering with industry and enterprises.
In the Wollongong area, we partner with Flagstaff Industries as well, a very well-known charity, and they collect bottles and cans on an industrial scale, and we do all the processing for them. So other charities, we encourage them to do the same thing in their own communities and through their own members, and then bring them to us for processing. It gives them a significant income stream, and we also share in the handling of that to compensate ourselves.
We've partnered up with a few organisations, so obviously with the Catholic Education Officer we've placed bins out at all those schools.
Vinnie's have provided all of the infrastructure for our schools, so they've provided the bins. When we looked at the waste that was being generated on site, if that could go to the Return and Earn scheme, for us it's addressing the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor.
Yeah, if you're a charity or a community group, we encourage you to reach out to your local AD site and look at forming that partnership. We're here to help them raise money for their organisations.
The power that can be generated from this is just enormous. It can be catalytic for change. There's an opportunity there. Grab it and turn it into what you need it to be, and that's what Vinnie's has done.
Okay, could everybody see that one?
Yep.
Okay, so it just gives a little bit of background. I'm sorry, I'm just going to shut the screen down behind us so it doesn't keep going. So that sort of just gives a little bit of an idea of what's been happening across the state with the Return and Earn and Vinnie's partnership with that. In Wagga alone, the depot has, actually I'm not sure if I've got this quote right now. I think within the first 8 weeks, the Wagga depot hit the 1 million containers. So that was pretty good for a depot. So the depot plus the shops are both recycling centres, and I wanted to just run through this project that we're putting in a grant for and just get your feedback. So what we'd really like to do is be able to run tours with school students, a little bit like what you're doing, Elizabeth, showing the next generation how to take easy, tangible steps towards sustainability, and it's right here, right now in Wagga. So possibly groups of about 15 from about 10 primary or secondary schools within the Wagga LGA, and invite them to take part in about 30 minutes tour at the shop, or probably the other way around, actually start with the depot and then jump on a bus again and come down and do 30 minutes tour at the shop. So the tours would educate participants on the environmental outcomes of this Vinnie's recycling and include things like ethical fashion, landfill reduction, the return and earn scheme, and processes behind the shop front. Like, for example, you were saying, Elizabeth, that the kids learn a lot from actually seeing what goes on behind. So post the tours, what we'd like to do is invite them to do 3 school-wide activities. One is a clothing drive for Vinnie's. Secondly is to look at whether they want to do return and earn bottle collection, for example, like Sturt has done, like Kate Livio has done. They're terrific. And Kate, you might like to make a comment about that in a moment. And thirdly, a social media competition, and I have to credit Ben for this idea. The competition would be for the Dress by Vinnie's Day. It would be a meme, a post, or a TikTok spot, and there'd be 3 prizes. There'd be $50 for first prize, 25, and for the second and third prize. So, and they'd then be able to spend that voucher in the Vinnie's shop. So the grant money that we're looking for is to actually pay for the transport for the buses and for that prize. It's anticipated that post-COVID-19 school budgets will be pretty messy and even tighter, so we don't think this is going to be possible unless we get the grant. I think the grant we're putting in for is up to $3,000, so that will hopefully allow for around about 10 schools, but we'll just see. The whole aim of this is that we're trying to show future generations how to take tangible steps. So, and tangible steps right here, right now in Wagga. I think that children, particularly teenagers, if you start talking environmental issues and it's dreamy and up there and abstract and off there in the future, they'll switch off. Whereas this project aims to be talking to students about tangible things that can be done right now, and dealing with clothing and dealing with soft drink bottles, which are young people are high consumers of. So it's something that they can do, and hopefully after the tours they'll go back home and actually speak to mum and dad over the table and convince mum and dad to get more involved in it as well. We're wanting to invite probably the school leaders, so maybe the SRC, maybe the school captains, I don't know, but looking at the leaders, because we're actually trying to influence cultural change in the school, not just, you know, the five kids that are interested in year 3, but the actual school leaders, so that it actually influences school-wide. And we're also obviously, one of the things that underpins this for us is that an increase in recycling and an increase, in clothing, recycling, and also the single use drink container recycling means a spin-off for Vinnie's, which is an increased revenue, and certainly with our shops closed with COVID-19, we've taken a big hit in our revenue. So that obviously that revenue then goes back into supporting the vulnerable in the community. So that sort of ends my spot. I wonder whether people have questions, or whether Kate Livio, did you want to make comment about how the Vinnie's bins are working at your school?
Yeah, sure. I'm more than happy to, Cindy. Can you hear me fine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, can I ask a favour? If you could
keep it quick.
That would be awesome.
Got it. Schools want 3 things. They want things organised for us. They want to be able to have a good result, like what's in it for them. So I think this is going to be great, Cindy, because from what it sounds like, it's going to be free for schools. You guys are going to organise it. Plus that 10-cent thing, if you are collecting 10 cents in your school and you can manage it, that is fine. But for our school, we've got about 400 kids. Initially, we had lots of helpers who wanted to empty the 10-cent containers and take them to the depot and bring the 10 cents back and all that. But after a while, we were collecting them in the big white Vinnie's bags that come from the EPA, and all the juices and all that come out of the fruit boxes, and that was just disgusting to put in the back of your car. And after doing it for a year, volunteers started to pen her out. So I highly recommend you get on board with Vinnie's, because what the arrangement we have is for every 10-cent can, Vinnie's donates 5 cents. Vinnie's gets 5 cents and we get 5 cents. We don't see it. We sort it. We put it into a blue bin. Vinnie's takes it away. We have never, ever once for a year and a half, I haven't actually seen Cindy or any of the pickup guys or anything. They just do it all and we get money put in our account. So it sounds like a really easy mix for schools from my point of view. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
That was really good, Cindy. Thanks very much, and thanks very much, Kate, for sharing that. Very succinct. I'm impressed. So we have 2 more presenters. So without further ado, Danyelle, may I please ask you to go next, and that'll be followed by Nicole from Murrumbidgee Landcare. So Danyelle, take it away.
Yeah, I'm going to have to do some screen sharing too, Ben, if that's all right.
No worries.
Before I do that, my name's Danyelle. I'm at Riverina Environmental Ed Centre. I know a lot of people that are on here already, and did just allude to the fact a while ago that we are a public school. In week 7 or 8, when the COVID, can you hear me?
Yeah.
With the COVID situation, the first thing that went was excursions. So that sort of took away everything that we did, and we had to kind of reinvent ourselves and still become relevant in the lives of the kids. So a lot of our bread and butter is science and technology, geography, senior science, biology, the field study components for the HSC, kindergarten to year 12. So I'll just go through quickly now what we're sort of looking at doing. And if you're interested in these things, I've made up a Word document, which I'll send to Ben, and he can send to everybody else at the end, if that's okay. So resourcing is what we've actually been doing. So where will I go? Sorry, that's not it. Oh yeah, I'll just get rid of all this. Oh, rats. I'm not real good at this, you might have noticed. Can you see my screen? I'm screen sharing, am I? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so what I'll do is just quickly go. A lot of you teachers have seen this. We were just in phase 0 where we had all of the kids at home and we weren't able to do anything with them. Where if I try and scroll across, no, I can't. I just need to move you guys out of the way. So if you can see the right-hand side of my screen, it sort of says along each of the phases. So the kids are at 1 day a week at the moment, and it says here no excursions or inter-school activities. That's us and us. Across in phase 2, where they're 2 days a week. Not here in stage 3, where they're 5 days a week. We actually, and this will go for all of the groups that just mentioned that wanted to do the inter-school things as well, we cannot participate in schools until here in phase 4, where everything becomes normal again. So that was what we were working with. If you are a member of the Department of Education, you may have seen the Google Drives that they've set up. What we had to do then was try and deliver a package of things where teachers, I love the expression Apollo 13'd it, where we had to immediately sort of get onto Google Classroom situations and learning how this Zoom worked, which I'm still really rubbish at, and getting kind of a bit of a lead in how we can still teach the kids that are at home versus the ones that are at school now as well. So Roberta, Kate, Thur are my heroes at the moment. So we did drop a link to G Drive where there were all sorts of activities that were there, and I know the people that are on there have seen some of those. And they were within the Wagga and Riverina network. They've now gone wider so that people can just drop in and you know, look at some of these activities that are here. They're already done. So some of them were applicable to use for computers. We were then told not all the children had computers, so we had to sort of make sure that we were looking at those as well. So we are a part of another network called the Environmental and Zoo Education Centres, EZEC network. So I'm wondering if you've seen these. These are the secondary resources put on by there's 25 environmental and zoo education centres in the state. As I said, we're all public schools and we're scattered all over New South Wales. So this particular page has some things where there are resources that have been banked by all of our network, right through from here is stage 6 for HSE stuff, through to the year 7 stuff for stage 4, year 7 and 8. So if you were looking for, as a geographer, you know, livability, any science that was in there for any of the particular stages, it's there. We do have a primary one as well. Okay, so these again are all collated from all of our centres. If you wanted to have a look at our map, do so. This was done by a woman called Jill Bell from National Parks EEC in Sydney. So if you go to any of these here, Riverina is represented. If you go right down the bottom to wellbeing, and goes right down. Sorry. Where is my sidebar? It's disappeared there. Where these are actually downloadable and are able to be done without a computer. So you've probably seen some of those. There are 3 different ones. So they're learning tasks where the kids can take it, they can take a nature journal, they can try and get 100 points by at least doing 10 different activities from there. So they're all accessible online. Don't panic and start writing things down. I'll send you the links. And we also had to speak with our Director, Education and Leadership, Janine McGrath, about what we do. We don't sit around on our hands for the next, 5 or 6 months, maybe. So we're actually looking at sending packages of things to school. We started with geography and the science and things like that. What we then were told was the mandatory part will be 2 hours where it's mostly going to be centred on English and maths. So we've looked at the numeracy side of things, and we're actually looking at giving packages of work to schools where they can then send it on to their students based on numeracy and nature. You can do these at home. So the first lot that we did, we sent these out to schools. They could go into any stage, and we gave them one each week from week 3 to the end of this term if they wanted in their own stage. So some of those look like, this is an early stage 1, stage 1, looking at patterns and things in nature, looking at going outside and measuring distances. So there's a paper plane competition, and then they had to work out the differences in each of the placings for their planes. Temperature graphs and things like that's the stage 3 one. So those are there. I can send you the links to those. What that has been a part of is a small snippet from a really much larger document that we're doing in numeracy in nature, where in our Google Docs, I have to acknowledge Jo McIntosh, who's with us 2 days a week, and she works about 7 days a week. She's a really gun person at getting some of this curriculum out. So this one here, for example, is just 1 page. Oh, now I've moved you over there, I can't see. For every single outcome, K to 6 in all stages. This is from the maths syllabus. So this would be an outline where the top outcomes are there, and then the content that has to be reached to actually achieve those outcomes. So we will just take them into activities that could be done by teachers and trying to promote, this is a document that you can use post-COVID outside to get things outside the classroom. So that one's a length one, I think, for stage 2. And as I said, we're working through to make sure all activities are done for every single outcome in the math syllabus for all stages. So don't know what's wrong with my computer, it's terrible. So these will be something that I can't give you just now because they're still in draft format, but we will get there. Okay, so that's the primary sector. Now, Alice, you were out just recently and saw our Lake Albert. Yeah, so my principal, Darren Watt, who's obviously not here today, he has been working really hard with a drone scientist, Lachlan Feeney, in actually trying to work out how we deliver our HSC content back to schools. And this one isn't HSC, this is our starting point, was a stage 5 virtual excursion. So where the kids usually come to us, we've had to then turn it around and become something that can be interactive while you're at home. So this is a virtual fieldwork program where there's still components of fieldwork that have to actually be assessed. And this one, Darren has put a lot of work into. You can start your virtual field trip. I'll just move you over here again. By downloading a fieldwork booklet. And then what the students will do is navigate through all parts of the site. Now, this is where I'll show you. I'm trying to talk really quickly because I know there's so much. I'm sorry if I bugger this up. The panospheres that were taken are interactive. They've been taken by drone footage up high by Lachlan, and then we've used the 360 cameras down at terrain level so that we can see what's going on. So our resident scientist, that's him there, he's actually consulting for us, and if it is that you wanted something, you can hire him. Okay, so it could actually happen in any other school and not just ours. So where the Lake Albert panospheres, I said, were interactive, they've got all of the drone footage that's here, and you can wheel around, and the kids are able to find out certain parts of Lake Albert that they can move to with another click on the cameras. There's, as I said, the information in the work booklets that they work through. There's further research. There's links to things like Dick Green's Wiradjuri Heritage Study that came back onto the council website too, I think is with you, Alice. And this is actually something that started within all of the EECs. If you go to their EECs, this is what we're all doing. So at the moment, Darren is going to have a look at starting one on River Red Gum and the adaptations that are specifically focused on the River Red Gum and then all of the other animals and plants in those environments and how, they're all working together. But as it goes through, if you want to have a look at it, I'll send you the link. There is feedback that the teachers can give, and then we can.
Danyelle.
Yep.
That's really impressive. I'm just mindful of
the time.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll send you all of these links anyway, and then you can have a look at them. There's videos and things the kids basically teach themselves, but that's the end for me.
Thanks so much, Danyelle. And I think the real, when teachers will get excited about that stuff is when they're looking at the links and control through it in their own time. I know I would as a geography teacher, as a Year 10 geography teacher. So it looks really exciting. And congratulations on such a big resource, and congratulations on all the. You've just had to basically change your job with all teachers, as all teachers have.
Yeah, well, it's going to be put out there for all students as well. Whilst we can only teach the masses in the public sector, Darren was talking to Alice and hopefully mentioned it to you yesterday that there'd be the way that you and Ben can perhaps translate that through to the independents. So
that's fantastic. So what I might do is just say if anyone's got any questions for you, Danyelle, if they can pop it in the chat box.
Yep. Sure.
So thanks very much. That was fantastic.
That's all right.
And Nicole, I believe, has been waiting patiently with her microphone.
Sorry, Nicole.
That's okay. I hope Nicole's there because her her microphone's been on mute and her screen is also. There we go. G'day, Nicole. How are ya? So, Nicole, could I invite you to introduce yourself rather than me? And we're probably looking at, again, 10 minutes and then an opportunity for questions.
Did you want me to talk about the Picture You in Ag thing or about the general stuff?
Sorry, can you just say that a little bit, if possible, a little bit louder? Sorry, I'll turn up my volume.
Did you want me to talk about the Picture You in Ag program or the more general stuff about us kind of working together to support the teachers?
I think you could definitely talk about both, if that's possible. Would that be possible? That's okay. Would it be possible? Would you have time to just do 5 minutes on each?
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, cool. That'll be lovely. Thanks, Nicole.
Yep. Okay, so hello everyone. Sorry about that. I've had my little friend taken away now, so it might be a bit easier to hear. I'm Nicole Maher from Murrumbidgee Landcare, and we've done a little bit of stuff in education for school kids and so on. Most of our, in the past, it's been more community level, working with farmers and general community members. So not so much with the school kids, but we've been getting into that recently. And so the first thing that I was going to talk about was I spoke briefly with Ben and Alice just about the fact that there's a few of us and there's obviously others as well. Danyelle, I had also spoken to, and Elizabeth, your program at Kurrajong sounds fantastic. So I guess it was just talking about the fact that there's all these people doing great stuff for teachers, and how do we best sort of work together and maybe offer a more holistic package to teachers, so that they might sort of be able to pick and choose elements from different people that can offer them, or whether it be that someone, say a school might want to use some of Danyelle's resources, and perhaps us at Landcare, we could be more sort of a bit of a mentor or something for some teachers that are a bit nervous about implementing educational stuff in the classroom, and perhaps we could, be someone that they can call up and talk to, or email with questions and that sort of thing. So I guess it was just a bit of a broad thought that maybe we could work together a bit more closely, and this group obviously that Ben started is a really great way to kick that sort of thing off. And so it was just putting the idea out there, I suppose, and maybe getting some ideas on how we can better support teachers.
I'm gonna put my hand up and just show my ignorance. So I apologise. So can I just clarify, Nicole? At the moment, are you offering, for example, your role at Landcare is a way to help teachers decode, like any teachers can get in contact with you and just get tips for how to teach certain environmental things in the classroom? Is that what?
Yeah, so maybe if there were elements of the curriculum that they were unsure of themselves, or wanted to find out a better way to teach it, or a way to go into more depth in it or something like that, then perhaps we could help.
Okay, so almost like if I'm a teacher in a planning stage and I'm thinking there's a topic here that I've maybe heard in the news, or that's big around Wagga, and it's environmental education, I'd like to incorporate it into the classroom. That would be a really good time at the planning stage to look up your details online, or maybe however they do that, and just say, look, I'm teacher X at this school, I'm not sure how to do it. Do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because I guess where I was coming from was just the fact that we were sort of looking to extend our involvement with schools, but there's so many great programs and resources and everything out there already that I just didn't think it would be the best use of our time to just go and create another resource to use. And there's obviously people that are far better at doing that. So like the Environmental Education Centre, some of those things, Danyelle, that you were showing were just perfect. That's exactly what teachers need. And so I was just thinking, is there a different gap that we could fill?
Yeah.
And provide some additional support to teachers and schools in general. Yeah, rather than just trying to someone else is doing it.
I don't know. I hope I'm not being rude here, because I know I didn't jump in on anyone else, but I feel like what you're saying is super prescient. I don't know if that's the right word, but with this explosion of online resources with COVID, I have had a bit of feedback saying there's a lot out there. How do we find the best stuff?
Yeah.
And it's, so it sounds like you've had that same insight. And I think that is I think that's really, really good, that you're not creating another thing, and that you might offer yourself almost as like some type of consultant with how to bring that environmental ed to life.
Yeah, that's right.
Cool.
And the other thing that I just was going to touch on briefly, and this was more just to raise the question with any of the people that are from schools here, that we've been talking with local land services who are also interested in bringing a program called Picture You in Agriculture to our region. And it involves getting a network of schools together, and of high schools and primary schools. And there's a program called KreativeKoalas that's aimed at primary schools, and then the Archibull prize that's aimed at high schools. I don't know if anyone's seen the big cows that the kids paint. That's the Archibull one. And then they have a koala, big fiberglass koala that the primary schools paint. But it's all geared around the Sustainable Development Goals, and getting the kids to come up with or to learn about the Sustainable Development Goals, and then to come up with an issue in their community that they've learned about, and that they come up with some way that they might solve it. And it might be something that they can solve within their school, like a water use or waste issue, or it might be something a bit more, in the community, in the farming environment or something, that they just come up with an idea that they think it could be solved. And the schools kind of work together. I'm not quite sure yet how that works. It's still early days, but I guess I was just putting it out there because it does cost a bit of money. So we would need to, local land services have offered to contribute a significant amount of it, but we would need to talk to local agribusiness and that sort of thing to try and get some support to bring it here. And I guess I just wanted to gauge whether local schools would be interested in doing it, or whether it seems like too much, whether I, before I go down the path of trying to raise funds for it, just see if people are actually interested in it. So that's why I just wanted to raise that one. Yeah, that's all I had really. So I can leave it there.
Thanks, Nicole.
So I suppose that's really a question, isn't it, Nicole, for those teachers that are here? So Katrien or Kate, would you maybe like to, or Roberta, would you like to get more? Would you like perhaps Nicole to email you some information on the Picture You in Agriculture? Would that be something that you're interested in?
Yeah, I think a bit more information would be good, and I'd be happy to have you email me, Nicole. That would be great.
Yep, I can send it. If I send it to you, Ben, maybe you could send it.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah. I'm going to wait to see if anyone else has a question first. Okay. I'll take that gap. I'll take that silence so that I can ask the next one. Again, I'm going to show my ignorance here, Nicole. So I'll just clarify. So you're saying that Murrumbidgee Landcare would support schools in applying for money to run the program called Picture You in Agriculture. And the Picture You in Agriculture program has two different streams, one for primary, one for secondary. The primary one's called KreativeKoalas, secondary one's called Archibull. And both of those programs are centered around the Sustainable Development Goals from the UN.
Yeah, so it's all right. The only thing is that the schools wouldn't need to be involved in the money. Ideally, I would secure that before we offer it to the schools, so then the schools don't have any need to find money or try and fundraise or anything.
Yeah.
And it'd be free for the schools to participate.
Yeah, again, I think that's a really prescient and insightful idea that you have, to take that load off teachers, to say, I'm going to do it. Here is, like what you were saying, Kate. I'm waving at you, pointing to you, Kate. Like, if things need to be organised and have an outcome for kids, and it sounds like you're willing to play that role from Murrumbidgee Landcare.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So what I can do is,
oh, sorry.
No, you go.
Oh, I was just going to say, in terms of the outcomes, the program would cover the sustainability aspects of the curriculum, which is obviously across various subjects, but it has a focus on agriculture.
Hold on, sorry. Again, I'm not afraid to look dumb, as you probably noticed. So there's a focus on agriculture, but it would actually, different teachers in like, for example, high school, in different subjects could still use it within their syllabus.
Yeah, so that's actually the
Wow.
goal. What they're trialing now is, or what they're wanting to do is a pilot of a new way of delivering it. Previously, they just did it with individual schools, and it was very much, firstly, it was taken by the art teachers because of the cow or the koala that they were painting, and then they sort of started getting into it and saying, oh no, this is really geography, and so they'd sort of handball it to the geography teachers and then it'd sort of go from there. But what they want to try now is to make it right across the school, having different courses or different subjects doing different parts that all contribute towards it.
That's much easier in a primary setting. I'm just saying, primary is easy because you've got one teacher and they can manipulate the curriculum a little bit and accommodate it. I found with doing high school stuff, particularly with STEM, it was very difficult because the science teacher has a bit of ownership, a bit of tech, a bit of environment, a bit of maths, and it's difficult because some high school teachers are like, well, that's not my discipline or whatever. But I'm not saying it's impossible, I'm just saying it's a bit more challenging.
No, I understand that, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for being a part of that. What I would probably do now is just throw it open. So it has gone 5 o'clock. So what I'll do is, actually, before I just have an opportunity just for general questions, if you want to stay, what I would really love to do now is just let you know, I would love to publish this meeting on the ErinEarth YouTube channel, but I'm not going to do it if people aren't comfortable with that. So what I would ask is, if you don't want me to do that, can you please send me a private message in the chat? Actually, no, don't do that because I'm actually recording at the moment and that will come up. If you could send me an email and just to say, look, you know, I'm not comfortable with that, or my organisation wouldn't want that, and that's fine. If no one does that, what I'm going to do is pop this onto the ErinEarth YouTube channel, because I know teachers are so busy and I really want to make this information available to teachers. And I think that's, you know, even if 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 more teachers, if it's the right teachers that get it, then that would be lovely. But look, if it's not possible, that's okay too. And the other thing that I need to ask, just in terms of privacy, is when I send out information, if you would prefer me to BCC your email address, please let me know. Because at the moment, I've just been allowing everyone to see everyone's email address, and just for that, being able to contact each other. But if you prefer that not to happen, please let me know, and I'll put yours on blind carbon copy. But yeah, throw open it. It's gone 5 o'clock, so if you can stay, feel free to ask any more questions that you might have.
Can I give the grants a plug?
Absolutely, Alice.
Yay! Just a reminder, the council's community grants are open at the moment, but they close on the 25th, and there is a natural environment category. So if you have a project that you have in mind, make sure you pop in an application if you want to shooting ideas past me. Very happy to hear from you and to chat through them. I should say it's between 500 and 3,000 you can apply for.
Hey, Alice, excuse me, I just had a question in regard to Trees Day, National Tree Day, and the order we put in. Is that still going to be going ahead under the current situation?
Yes, I will check in probably in a week or two, just to check in with it whether schools still want them. But if you still want them, absolutely, you can still have your trees that you've ordered.
Yay! Thank you.
Yeah.
Ben's gone.
We've lost Ben.
No. No, I'm here. I'm here. I just like to mute myself so I give other people a chance to say something. Don't blab on. So if that's all, I'll probably just finish on. I'm really sorry. A couple of people have shared pictures to our Facebook group, and I can't manage the settings to easily show them. So if you do have some photos you want to share of really cool things that have happened, if you can email them to me and I'll put them on our Facebook group.
Yeah.
And I would like to just share a screen of a lovely, can you see what's on my screen there?
Yeah.
Okay, so this was sent to me by the New South Wales Educator of the Year last year, as presented by the Australian Association of Environmental Educators. So her name's Jenny Hill, and she just recently moved to Wagga. And I thought this was lovely. I'll just give you 30 seconds to have a quick read through.
Yeah, risk taking. Mm.
So I don't feel I need to add too much to that, other than to me it feeds into what Katrien was saying about manipulating your environment and how that's a positive thing, because it looks like you're asking questions of how kids can do that. So try moving your feet, try using your hands. What can you use? I think it's super lovely. And they're all questions instead of instructions. And Jenny's extremely experienced in taking large groups of kids from a school into a national park and showing them a good time with what they're learning. She says they're really happy outside, and she returns them all to school safe and sound.
Ben, it's Gemma here. Do you mind if I say a quick hello?
Yeah, go for it, Gemma. Please, can you introduce yourself, please, Gemma?
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Gemma Meier from Grong Grong. I'm the founder of Grong Grong Earth Park. The Earth Park was first established in 2014 with a little tiny grant where we started a community garden. And the underpinning philosophy of the Earth Park was that we wanted to build a wild playground, an open-ended, unpredictable, sometimes difficult and risky playground. And you can imagine the challenges because we have to fit within Australian playground standards to do that. So we sort of sometimes walk a little bit of a fine line there. I really encourage you to take a look at our Facebook page for two reasons. One is there's been some astonishing stuff done over the years in terms of upcycling waste. Alice, hello Alice, I worked with you when I was at uni. Upcycling waste into fabulous play equipment. So for example, our cubby is entirely shingled with road signs, street signs. And we're just about to make a huge concrete culvert into a living caterpillar with succulents all over him. And the challenge is, are you game enough to run through the slug's guts? So that's going to be pretty fun. The exciting bit we're up to now is we are about to install a high play fort, which is called Fort Zero. It's based around a zero emissions building. It's an environmental education centre based on passive building design and entirely, utterly surrounded by high play, tricky equipment, a boulder climb, a big earth berm, just lots and lots of stuff to think about, do together, find a team, just very open-ended and curiosity-based play. So it's just been lovely to sit and listen to all your ideas. Danyelle, I'll be over there looking for that stuff that you've done so that we can incorporate it.
I'll send it.
Yeah, thank you. One of the things that we do, we're on the Newell Highway, so one of the things we often do is think about school holidays. So we might do things like hang 50 or 60 paper bags in the amenity block with a scavenger hunt on the outside to say, you know, find 2 round rocks, find 4 long leaves. And honestly, week 1 of any school holidays, they're all gone. The kids just get out of the car from travel and get them and go. And we have families now who regularly do a Brisbane-Melbourne family run, and they stay in Grong Grong and they say to us, we don't see our kids, we don't see them for the whole time we're camped there because of the playground. So is a double thumbs up, you happy with me? Or
that's unreal, Gemma, that's so inspiring.
That's lovely. It's been great fun.
You're a legend.
Really good fun, but
round of applause.
We're really looking for robust feedback from teachers. You know, tell us what you want. We will find a way to put it in there.
Yeah, great. I'd love to come out and have a look at that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Do.
Road trip.
It's fun.
Do a road trip.
That's exactly it. That's it. Yep. Sounds great, Gemma. We'll see
Gemma,
you.
do you have a Facebook page or anything for the Earth Park?
Absolutely. Find us just search Facebook, look for Grong Grong Earth Park, and shortly we'll have a decent website up as well, which will be really pretty exciting. We're just as we get to this 3rd stage, which is a higher play, riskier zone. We've got a few insurance people at Narangba Shire Council losing hair at a great rate of knots over what we're doing. Boulders in. It's fine. They'll be right.
It looks really good. It looks really
Sounds
good.
great.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's good
Bit
fun.
of a road trip, Kate.
Yeah, sounds. Oh, that's where I'll be taking my boys this weekend by the sounds.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you take
I just
school
want
groups?
to say hello, and we're really interested in outside input. You know, it's community built playgrounds, so community opinion and ideas, just roll them in. Thanks, Ben.
No worries, mate. Anyone else want to chuck in anything there?
I think we'll have a look, Gemma, at putting your thing on our website as well. Just little links. I think that's been good. Landcare and Vinnie's and what was the other one? Kurrajong.
Yeah. Just make the whole pie bigger.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well done,
and where
Ben.
are all the blokes? That's what I want to know.
Hey?
I said, where are all the blokes? We're dropping the ball here.
That's it.
We're all playing footy, I don't know.
Mine's out growing barley, growing your beer.
Yeah, right. Okay. So yeah, fantastic. So I might just to close up, unless anyone wants to jump in, please do. What I'm going to do is just reiterate all the names of all the organisations. So for people, if people are watching this later on. So we had my wife talking about nature play. Her PhD actually hasn't been, she hasn't submitted it yet. So if anyone wants to get in contact with her, you can get in contact with ErinEarth and ask for me, Ben. I'm the education officer. Then we had Elizabeth from Kurrajong Sorry, I beg your pardon, Kurrajong Recycling, and Elizabeth was saying that there are opportunities for tours at the Kurrajong Recycling Centre in Wagga. Then we had Cindy from St Vincent de Paul, and Cindy was saying jump in here, Cindy, if I'm wrong, that there's opportunities to do return and earn in conjunction with Vinnie's. And they're also looking at really soon, hopefully getting a grant to run tours of the clothing recycling program, which sounds really interesting. Then we had Danyelle, and Danyelle, you looks like you've got a wealth of resources to share with everyone, which looks amazing. And we'll try to send those out via email, our email list, and the best we can. We should probably put them on our Facebook group as well.
Okay.
Just for those people that don't know the Facebook group is called Enviro Educators in Wagga and Surrounds, and you don't need to join that. You can just, I think, just like it and you're in. And then Nicole from Murrumbidgee Landcare was suggesting that Murrumbidgee Landcare can be contacted for teachers wanting a bit of advice on how to incorporate enviro education into their classroom. But also, if any teachers are interested in their programs called KreativeKoalas for primary school students, or the Archibull for high school students. They're programs that include cross-curricular syllabus outcomes, I suppose you'd call it, which I actually think is super impressive to do that. And teachers wouldn't have to apply for any funding or like that to run that program in the school. Nicole's prepared to apply for that money so you can run the program, and all you have to do is get in touch with Nicole to let her know you're interested. Otherwise, the program won't go. Alice suggested we had some grants up for grabs, the community grants, Alice, am I right?
Yep.
Yep. And when do they close, Alice?
The 25th of May.
25th of May.
4 p.m, I believe.
4 p.m. So get them in soon. And then last but not least, the fantastic Gemma telling us about the Earth Park at Grong Grong. And Kate's going there this weekend with her kids to, I don't know, have some fun, make some mud pies and whatnot, I guess.
That sounds about right.
Okay, well, I think we should all just wave.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Ben.
Good luck, everybody.
Everyone.
Ciao.
See you later.
Bye, bye, bye.
See ya.
Good networking, Ben.